I said Kaleva doesn't send emails.
Oh, no.
Kaleva sends.
We should videotape you talking about how I did not forward it.
Please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the August 12th meeting. We're going to administer the oaths of faithful office. Maybe. Is William here?
No.
We're going to skip that then. You can move for acceptance of the agenda. Before we do that, I would like to move item S, substitutes, to after executive session. So we're going to take a motion to accept the agenda. Molly? Bill? All in favor? Thank you. Public forum. Anybody in the public forum? Okay, we'll move on. The acceptance of the consensus agenda. Contained within the consensus agenda are the July 7th reorganizational meeting minutes and the CSE and CPSE recommendations. Joe, motion. Gene, second. Any discussion? Questions? All in favor? Thank you. Now we have to set up some of our, the remainder of our committees. So currently we have a budget committee, and we've decided to appoint all board members to the budget committee. And we see that Samantha Manker has expressed an interest in being the chairperson of the budget committee. Are there any other people interested in being the chairman? If so, I would need a nomination from the board. Or nomination for Sam. Thank you, Bill. Second? All in favor? Thank you. The Taconic Hills Faculty Association Liaison Committee. Elsa Erner has consented to be on that committee. Are there any other people that want to be on that committee? If not, we need a motion to approve Elsa Erner on that. Jean? Sam? All in favor? The negotiations committee, Bill, Jean Marie, and I have expressed an interest to be on the negotiations committee. And I have said that I would be the chairperson if nobody else is interested. Are there any other people who would like to be on that committee or be the chairman? Ron? You want to be the chairman?
No.
Yes. Okay, I need a motion to that effect for myself as chairman and for Ron, Bill, Jean Marie, and me to be on it. Molly, Sam, all in favor? And the legislative committee, we're getting interest from Ilsa and Janine, and myself to be on that committee. And Ilsa has consented to be the chairperson if no one else is interested. Are there any other people interested? And I need a motion to approve that. Bill? Sam? All in favor? Thank you. Now we have a presentation, Big Impact Starts Small, from Vision to Action, the Summer of Hope.
You get to control the button.
Well, good evening, everybody. The reason for this presentation tonight is that, as you know, in the spring, we started with talking about restructuring and finding out what is it that we really need from everyone who's invested in our community. Talking to them, finding out what do we need so that we can move forward. So we said big impact because we know that the work that we've done from the spring until now will have a big impact, but it started small with conversations, building relationships, hearing from people what they need and want. So we wanted to provide you with that an overview. So just a reminder, every day in every way, everyone counts. That's why we want everybody's voice involved in this process. Our mission and our vision and our core values that we have adopted with our strategic plan. And our phases of development. So the first thing was, why restructure? Over the last few years, we've taken a look at identifying gaps, challenging assumptions, not just about learning, but about our district, and working to strengthen our systems. We have a lot of solid things in place, but it's also how do we get better? How do we get stronger? And how do we, at the end of the day, make choices and decisions that are in the best interest of all of our children? We'll talk about division development. This is how we ended up restructuring and what that looks like. We needed to put systems in place. We wanted to clarify what are our priorities. And when we align everything, we can show and demonstrate how and where it will have an impact. And then the third part will be the path forward. It's really the foundation that we've put together with a priority roadmap for where we're headed and again, why, and how these changes will help us. You want to go ahead?
Sure. So it starts out with asking questions, right? And when you ask the questions, you have to keep going deeper. So when I arrived, I needed to do an analysis of the PPS department. What was working, what wasn't working, and how do we fix that, right? So that meant that we had to change some roles, we had to change some responsibilities, and we had to restructure. Really, as a director of EPS, you were only focusing on special education. And there was a whole other half of that, or 70%, that really was just not getting attended to because of the magnitude of the needs that in special education. So we had to take a shift. We had to really look to see how do we support our students and our staff and make sure that everybody is being cared for. And so we had to listen. And so we had to hear everyone's voice. And we had to ask not just what's working well, but what's not working well. What are the barriers you're facing? Because we have the right people, and people are working so hard here that it is our job to really lift those barriers so that they can work easier and more efficiently.
We want to, as we always say, work smarter, not harder. There was a lot of hard work going on, but without certain systems and structures in place, and with certain positions redefining the roles, we were able to spread that work out so that it makes more sense and can be done more effectively and more efficiently. And again, that took hearing from everyone's voice and just acknowledging that even if we're doing a lot of things well, there's still areas that we can grow in and we can improve. So then we talked about, what did we learn? Marcy touched on that a bit. We really needed to ask questions that led us to know what was our staff looking for leadership. Where did they feel they had supports? Where did they feel that things could be different or better? We also wanted to acknowledge everybody that there is power in being seen, in your voice being able to be shared and heard, and knowing that you are valued and appreciated for what you do. We've really worked on that over the last 3 years, just acknowledging everyone in the work that they do, but it's also in getting collaboration from people and how we build those systems and put them together. And the other thing that we had here that was really great is we really have been able to capitalize on organizational readiness. We have a board that's open and flexible. We have administration that wants to grow and learn. We have faculty and staff and departments that are proud of what they do and want to get even better at it. And so that set us up to have less dissension and more agreement with the changes that we needed to make.
So we really align leadership roles and responsibilities to better meet the needs of, the identified needs of the district. And we examined and restructured systems to maximize our fiscal and human resources, right? When we put people in the right places, it works easier, right? Sometimes we don't need more, we need to readjust. So the other thing that we're really excited about is embedding ongoing professional development that is critical to staff and student success, right? One and dones get forgotten very quickly. They don't shift practice, they don't shift mindsets. They're meaningful in the moment, and then there's a new moment. So moving forward, we're really excited about just continuing to embed ongoing professional development throughout the entire school year and being responsive to organizational needs that build sustainment.
I do want to say before we move further that while Marcy and I are presenting tonight and did a lot of planning and work on this together, this was not done in isolation. This is the work of our whole cabinet, our whole administrative team, working together and redefining, taking a look and having conversations about where do we have strengths, where do we need to make changes, and everybody doing this together. And building that sustainment has come from the work that has led up to this point in the last few years as well. Okay, so first part, division development and how we began restructuring. As we know, in the assistant superintendent role and the PPS role, we've had turnover, we've had different visions, different thoughts. So it was a matter of taking those two positions and talking about, again, how do we maximize and utilize the people there. One of the things that we're just going to talk back and forth about these, but we needed to acknowledge what we needed to do and then put that into action. With the assistant superintendent, recognizing that people personnel services and supports for students is very connected to curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And when we look at curriculum, instruction, and assessment, we're not just talking about what our students need, we're talking what our adult learners need as well. So having an assistant superintendent who would oversee the division of student support services and oversee curriculum and instruction, because they're connected, was really a critical piece, so that a lot of the work was not being done in pockets, but is being connected and people are collaborating more. Do you want to add anything to that?
Just when we were looking at the division of curriculum and instruction, I was really looking at what is the purpose, right? When you say curriculum instruction to other people, what does that mean? And you can say it's teaching and learning, but it's beyond that, right? So it's instruction, but it's also adult learning, right? So our division is responsible to ensure that parents are learning, community members are learning, staff is continuing to learn, right? So that was the shift from curriculum and instruction to instruction, learning. And we talk about assessments, but assessments are designed to measure impact, right? And there's only one way that we measure impact. And so that was the change in the language in going from curriculum and instruction to instruction, learning, and impact.
And then overseeing, changing the, from people personnel services to student support services, that allows the assistant superintendent to oversee some of the pieces that were being, I don't want to say neglected, but didn't get as much attention as special education did because of the needs there. Part of that analysis included figuring out how many CSE meetings we were having across the year, how many referrals, how much was coming in and out of the office, that all connected to any kind of additional services, whether it be an IEP or a 504. And also the health office and the counseling team and even ENL and our homeless students and our homebound students, all of that connects back to adult and student learning. And so it fit really well there. So with that, we of course had changed it to a supervisor of special education, which we have in Melissa, who's already hit the ground running. We're happy she was able to join us by the end of July, and she's been busy in the last 3 weeks. She has finalized over 100 IEPs in the last 3 weeks, and there's been some other pieces that she's done as well, working with the buildings and Ms. Haywood that she'll explain. And I'm going to let you talk about these next few things because they're really connected to more of the work that you've done.
Sure. So I just want to celebrate Melissa and Melissa. We now have 2 Melissas, so there's Melissa P and Melissa C and Erin. Right? And Erin, but as far as special education goes, Melissa and Melissa have been working tirelessly. Those 100 IEPs come with a lot of time, a lot of detail work, a lot of phone calls, a lot of conversations. Excitedly, how many are left?
There's 21 IEPs and 12 504s.
Which will all be finalized before the start to the school year. There were also some amendments that needed to be made in collaborating with the buildings and making sure that we really were ensuring that our students had what they needed and that we could meet their needs. There were some amendments that needed to be made. We needed to shift some things around. So the department has been working tirelessly. Another aspect is to just have that constant communication. One of the things that we heard was the communication, right? Communication. So how do you do that? Well, you make the time to listen. You make time, consistent time. It becomes a standing conversation. So I meet with the buildings weekly and we have conversations. Content coordinators, meeting with the department leads. So it's really important to have an expectation that we're going to meet and know when that meeting is. Those are those non-negotiables.
And then we identified the priorities from what had happened throughout the year up to this point. And some of those priorities were finishing up with the Literacy Review Committee and where they were and what their recommendations were after doing a thorough study of our literacy program, K through 12, over the last year and a half and connecting it to the science of reading research to make sure that we have everything in place, soup to nuts, to make sure that our students at all grade levels are becoming as literate as possible. Another priority was to take a look at our resources, not only human, but fiscal, to make sure that we had everything in place that we needed. And another piece that came out from that was that we needed some more help and support for behaviors that we are seeing. We have a lot of incoming students prior to COVID, but even since then, that have dysregulation, they have some additional needs or supports, but we didn't have all the resources within, and sometimes things weren't working as well as we wanted them to. So we talked about that and what we could do for that as well. And we also looked at data. We took a look at how were our students performing on the Regents. Now we know that those will continue to be available, but won't become the only requirement for getting your diploma, but they still are there existing and they are an indicator of how our students are doing and understanding and being prepared for the future. So looking at that kind of information led us to the last 4 bullets, which I'll let Marcy speak to because she was part of putting all of those details together with the rest of our cabinet.
Literacy Committee, Review Committee did a phenomenal job. They went so deep and they, last day of school came, presented, they were so excited and they were like, here is what we are looking to do. And the problem was that quotes weren't gotten, money wasn't allotted, and they were so excited. And when we said that we wanted to capitalize on that organizational readiness, when people come and they are ready and hungry, you are like, I want to feed you, let us find a way, right? And so the building leaders were like, Marcy, you have to figure this out. Like they were in tears at the thought, right, of like not being able to do this. So that night I sat down with their requests their recommendations, and I did my best to present to them a 3-year rollout that would allow us to afford it, would allow us to capitalize on their hunger, their readiness, and where they were, and as well as to provide everyone with the opportunity to come to the same conclusion that they did, to start where they started, understanding the science of reading, understanding instructional best practices from the state for pre-K to 3. How did they arrive there? We need to afford every staff member that same opportunity. And so our 3-year rollout will do that. Lynette and I are very blessed to have been in this profession long enough to have many partners and many people who you go, can you please help me? And they did. HMH, who is our vendor for Into Reading, did a phenomenal job at working with us, and we are so excited because when we left the last day, we thought maybe we'll be able to get this much of their request for the Tier 1 reading program of Into Reading. We were able to provide Into Reading for one 3rd grade teacher who was on the committee who said, please, 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 you have to include me. And all of her students who are getting actual workbooks or consumables, as we call them, that they can write in because 3rd graders need that, right? All of our 4th grade, our 5th grade, our 6th grade, our 7th, and our 8th grade will be starting next year with Into Reading in 3 through 5 and Into Literature, which is the next step up on the continuation for grades 6 to 8. We have professional development for them. Beth Flores is a tremendous, tremendous asset. So we did not budget for professional development. So we are making it work. HMH has this phenomenal teacher's corner with all of these webinars, and the teachers actually, when they complete it, get their CTLE credits. And so they watch it. So Beth is going to be giving guided professional development in that and leading our teachers and then supporting them there. So can you tell I'm excited about that one? That is our.
And there's a little bit more in that as we get into the buildings, but yeah, it's really exciting.
And we also know that our students, you know, when we look at discipline, we have to look at underneath the discipline. Our students are coming to us with trauma, right? But our staff carries their own trauma. As adults, we don't check our trauma, our hurt, and our situations at the door.
And staff also carries trauma from years caring and loving and supporting our children. And so when talking to the union, for example, their leaders, there was a need and request for this support so that they feel equipped as well to be able to handle and support not only students, but recognizing their own things that they've gone through over the years.
So we will be working throughout the year to provide professional development with our consultant and coach, Amy Katari. We've heard us talk about before, she already began with cabinet, and by the end of the year, and we will invite you as well, to learn about trauma-informed approaches on how we recognize and understand our own trauma, the trauma of others, and how do we respond to that and what strategies we use. So that will be the work of the entire educational environment.
Yep, and the school, the clinical team and the school counselors also received that at the end of the year already. And then for state and local assessment results and bolstering instructional capacity, taking a look at that data to identify where there are gaps, where we can strengthen and build better alignment and fidelity across grade levels and departments. And we'll talk about that because Marcy has done a lot of hard work with our building leaders in identifying what's needed and putting together the plan for the year. So, you know, we just want to talk about pre-K through 6 and strengthening that foundation. A lot of work has been done with Laura and Lindsay, and it's really about creating conditions for success because pre-K through 6 is that foundation so that when they get to the upper grades, they can be more independent and feel that success, you know, inside and out of the classroom.
So it starts with designing a master schedule that supports all of your needs, right? So it was, give me your list, give me your wish list, give me your teacher's wish list, and we will make it happen. I don't think they believed me when I said that, but after many, many weeks, we did it. So we will be switching at the elementary to an 8-day cycle. So rather than a Monday through Friday, it will be a day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We know holidays are always on a Monday. Well, what happens to those Mondays classes? What happens to those Friday classes? What happens when you always have a snow day or a half day? What happens? Well, we lose instructional time. So by shifting to an 8-day cycle, not only do we maximize instruction, but we maximize staffing. It allows us more flexibility in how we use the same staff. We were able to increase special cycles to include 4 to 5 PEs within a cycle. So for grades K to 3, they will have 5 PEs within a cycle. The state does require 5 now. And recess no longer counts towards that. So that was really important for us to work that in. For grades pre-K 4 and 6, they will have 4 PEs within the cycle. Every grade will have up to 2 periods of art and or music, stream, and computer. So students are having more access to these specials. We were able to create common planning time within the instructional day. We were able to provide protected instructional minutes. So there's 120 minutes for an ELA block in up to grade 5 or 6, up to grade 5 or 6. And then we have our, as you know, usually it's science or social studies. We were able to include science and social studies in every day. And then the other part that was exciting is that we were able to provide a daily 30 to 40 minute intervention block, which was to focus on foundational skills. So it's not about the curriculum, it's about what skills does the student need in order to access the curriculum, right? And we were able to build that in. The buildings both aligned their building commitments to the strategic blueprint, and together we worked, all 5 of us sat down. We worked really carefully and beautifully, and it was exciting to all come together and create a year-long professional development plan that included both buildings and the district's priorities. We also, as you heard, were able to purchase that Tier 1 resource. I am in the process of finalizing a guidebook that will outline the instructional expectations and resources with the input from the elementary administrators as to what it is that they're looking to see. And, you know, we give teachers a lot of resources. You are amazing and you approve many resources. And that is incredible. But what do you do with it, right? The teachers sometimes look and they're like, how do I fit it all in? Well, it's part of my job to help them understand how to fit it all in.
And so not just fit it in, but in order to avoid initiative fatigue or to feel overwhelmed because we're getting all these new resources, even though they have been reviewed by their colleagues and the literacy review committee is recommending them. Marcy mentioned earlier that we had said that we had connections with HMH. We didn't come in and say, you should do into reading and into literature. They came to that on their own after looking at different programs that were available and which ones were best aligned to science of reading and the needs of our students. So part of this plan is to make sure that there's a comfort level for our adults in feeling comfortable with the resources they have, getting any training that they need. And part of that is also the team working together to make sure that that training is put in at the right places, right? We're not going to do all of this training on the first day when everybody's back or the second day. Some of it happens later in the school year so that people are getting what they need, that it's available online, but again, not making people feel overwhelmed, but knowing that we're here to support them. Because when you get new materials, it's really exciting. However, you also need time as an adult to get comfortable with that as well. And to have the common planning time now for grade levels and departments is really going to help that as well, because they're going to be able to come together and not only be talking about what they're selecting and doing with those resources, but also how their students are doing and being able to share strategies. So, no. Okay.
So you can see all of our new resources as well as our continued Haggerty we did embed in pre-K. And as Lynette said, the professional development will be ongoing. Some of it will start. We will be starting with the math fluency and the UFly because that is the foundation. That is that phonics, that is understanding and recognizing letters and sounds. That is where we begin in reading before we can start to that leads us to decodables, what books we put in hand. So we will be scaffolding it out and making it bite-sized as well as providing opportunities for them to come and ask and work together and not be in silos.
Our supervisor of special education, Melissa, has, is part of her role is taking a look at the continuum. How does what we have here for our students connect to their IEPs, their 504s, the supports that they need as well? So that's another piece that she's done in her few short weeks here, has just been working with the team to make sure that we have everything in place for the programs in the continuum that exists at the elementary and then also at the high school.
And then we had to take another look at our MTSS procedures and hear that some people felt it was too cumbersome and it became overwhelming and something that we were resisting. So we had to take an honest look at that. And again, I'm really excited about the work that we did over the summer because the 5 of us came together and talked about what's working for teachers, what's working for buildings, what's working, what's good pedagogy. And we have just kind of clarified and simplified, right? So it's not new, it's simplified, right? I think that would be how we start. And as always, right, our focus is to ensure that the climate of education is, just incorporated. We are always looking to be building towards a portrait of a graduate, and that doesn't begin in the high school. It begins the day they walk through our doors.
Right. And climate education is also now not just the climate of the building or the campus, it's also about educating students on climate. That's a requirement from the state that is part of the first phase 1 of Portrait of a Graduate. So we already do a tremendous amount of climate education. We have our agriculture program. We have our students in STREAM and agriculture working with the cafeteria and Kyle and the work he does. They're learning about recycling, they're planting herbs. That is built into the science curriculum as well, and even into reading and into literature, because it's a lot of diverse texts that they will have access to. But it's just being aware of what we have and making sure we're providing that across the grades. And then the third part of this was 7 through 12, preparing for a stronger year ahead, and really for our students and their future. And after building that foundation, we want to start as they come into 7th grade, making sure that we have laid the groundwork for success all the way through. So these are some of the pieces of work that have happened at the 7th through 12th level.
And I really want to, give kudos to Mary and Darby, who started that work all the way back in January, February, somewhere about there. They started looking at the schedule and what was needed. They did a phenomenal job of revamping the schedule to ensure that the student-to-teacher ratio was balanced across all content areas. They really looked at the data and said, how do we support students, not just when we get to a regions, not just when we get to a test, but so that we actually can leave here better than we entered, right? And they did a beautiful job with that. They also have created their D&D dispatch, which is exciting and has already started. That is their newsletter, and we've been communicating with staff. They do a beautiful job of that.
I just want to go up to a review of the CTE wheel. One of the things you're approving tonight is that Spanish 7. So as part of the exploration that is required by New York State, there was an intention to give our students more exposure to things. So it's a 10-week course that in Spanish to give students exposure and is added to the other exploratory options and courses that they have.
I do want to clarify where it says special education continuum. We do have ICT in 11th and 12th. It's just called consultant teaching, and it looks a little different because we want them to be more independent as they get older. So it's not that it doesn't happen. It's just that along the continuum, there is ICT, consultant teaching, direct or indirect. And so that happens in a combination of direct and indirect in the 11th and 12th grade. But they still are getting services in 11th and 12th grade.
I think some of the things we've already mentioned throughout the conversation, but we also did, now this year, we had positive behavior intervention and supports PBIS coordinator last year at the elementary level. It was very successful. So we have that now for 7 through 12. And a lot of the ideas that have happened at the elementary level will be continued into the junior, senior high. And it looks different. It's also including some guest speakers and that we're using some of our title funding for to talk about things that are a priority and our concerns or needs of our students, 7 through 12.
And that also even filtered into our code of conduct review, right? And ensuring that we have progressive discipline and opportunities for students to reflect and improve and grow, right? We're constantly growing. And so that has been embedded there. The other things that we're pretty excited about as happening in the 7 to 12 is project-based learning and providing the opportunity, right? So often we say we want people to do something, but do we provide the time and space to do it and do it well, right? And so it was really important to Darby and Mary that teachers had the time. And so we are providing that time and ensuring that that continues. So there will be interdisciplinary project-based learning. I don't know if you wanted to share a little bit of how some of the the concepts
Try
are shared.
to really kind of be thoughtful, really thoughtful about how we schedule things and do some common preps for teachers so that they could collaborate. And then even scheduling, one example would be we have Brian Van Tassel is teaching a real world mathematics class. And then we have Warren Winter, and he is doing residential maintenance. So we thought it would be kind of cool if they could collaborate on that, and we talked to them about it, and they are very excited about that. Another example is Matwood does a retail management class. And then we have Amber Bauhoff, who is one of our art teachers, and she does a fashion design. So they were immediately, into it. And we said, you can even create some merchandise and we can sell it in the school store, which is another part of what he does. So they're very, very impressed with those. So those are just some examples of the whole point is, why are we doing this? Kids saying, oh, what am I ever gonna, what am I ever gonna need to know this? Well, this helps to move those type of actions.
It's also preparation for the portrait of a graduate, which has 3 phases, 1, 2, and 3. We are in phase 1 right now. 26, 27 is ending that. That's where we have climate education. Our financial literacy standards are expected to be taught this year. That doesn't have to be an isolated class. We had our CTE teachers work together this summer to take a look at those financial literacy standards, God bless you, and make sure that across their courses, those standards are embedded into the learning so that our students are getting that. It seems like, oh, we're really moving ahead, but by 2029, which I feel like is right around the corner, the regents will be decoupled from the diploma, which means they'll be available for students to demonstrate proficiency, but you will also be able to demonstrate your proficiency and mastery of learning through other ways, which includes project-based learning. So we want to be ahead of that requirement that comes in 2 years so that our students have those options and aren't left having to demonstrate proficiency just through Regents. It's a great avenue for some, but not for all. And when we say it's decoupled, it just means if you've earned your credits and you've shown proficiency, you don't have to take that Regents in order to receive your diploma. So that's really exciting and giving our students so many more options to be successful. But that's also why it's important that we're doing that work now. And then the junior, senior high is going to start this year. And they'll talk about it a little bit in September, a little bit more. But We have Portrait of a Graduate from New York State, but that's really overarching. What is a portrait of a Titan? What do our kids look like when they come out of our district? What is it that they're looking for, what we're supporting, and what we want for them as well?
And lastly, we really tried to streamline what the professional development was for the teachers throughout the year. So the math department, we are partnering with Questar to provide embedded coaching for the math department. The other departments, every other department will be engaging in one unified professional development. And that typically does not happen, right? Each department is learning their own thing. So it's really exciting that we essentially have two professional development focuses.
And one of the ways we're connecting that is we are starting this year asking teachers to do a project-based learning project. And so we are asking them to come up with their teams. And we're including PE, we're including, you know, all of the arts, all of these different, again, like, why do we need to know this? Well, here's what all of these different departments bring to the table, all these different subjects, and how they connect. So we're starting that, and at our first, I think it's September 1st, when we have our first faculty meeting, we are going to provide them with a lot of information about project-based learning, and then we're going to give them a little bit of homework and just say, start thinking about who you want your team to be, what it is you want to focus on, and then we will resume. We're hoping to have only like 4 actual faculty meetings this year, and have our focus be on professional development within the departments, within.
And the big transition for that too is that traditionally 7 through 12, definitely 9 through 12, the focus has been on the content area, right, by each department, and that's really important. However, our students need to be able to demonstrate their literacy and their comprehension. You know, reading a physics textbook is very different from being able to read a fiction or some other genre in an English class. And so by having them focus on that learning, it's allowing our teachers at that level to have some strategies as well as to how they incorporate and build that understanding for their students. And that their students just don't show up in their classroom in 9th, 10th, 11th, even 12th grade and already know how to apply an outline to write an essay that they learned in 5th grade.
And that is really important to note, right? That literacy includes writing. Writing is a main component of literacy, and so the work that they will be working on with Beth Flores is the writing revolution. And so they will all be focusing on that. So there will be a normed conversation, a normed language and basis of information, so that all of our students are continuing to have that throughout their experience in their junior to senior high.
I should, since, is there anything else you wanted to add from your slide?
I know, sorry.
Okay, just wanted to make sure because, you know, we're a little casual here with, you know, hopping in with things. Then we really thought about how can you as the board support us in the roles that all of us do. If you can be communicating the why these changes, help our community to understand the purpose and value, because what we're doing is really transformational change. And we want our community to understand that things are different, not only because the state has made some changes and it's in that process through the Board of Regents, but also because this isn't the same place it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And what our students need today is very different. Champion the portrait of a graduate. Understanding the skills, we've talked a little bit about it, the outcomes, and as we get closer to knowing exactly how that transposes into what we want our kids to look like as they're leaving, you know, being able to share that in the community is really important. And as you always do, staying connected and informed and participating as you are now, asking questions, learning and growing with us. Are there any questions? Sam?
Is there like a plan or a thought process in how to onboard new staff as they come in like the middle of all this?
Yeah, so that's why it's really important for our coaches to be really the facilitators of the professional development, because they're side by side, they're right there working with them. So, we will be continuing, it's, the staff comes in, right? It changes. So, yes, our coaches will really be taking the lead in that professional development throughout the year.
And we become masters of spreadsheets, and we know who, we've already planned our new teacher organization in the past, orientation organization, new teacher orientation. In the past, Questar has usually done a day or two of training in general. They're not doing that this year, and so we have our new staff coming in for 2 days, and it's not just to familiarize them with what Taconic Hills is all about, it's about offering the training and the supports as well as getting them to meet their mentors.
And one thing about that was part of how we developed the new teacher orientation for this year was by surveying last year's new teachers to say, hey, what were the best parts? What did you want more of, and what could you have waited for? And so we really did, refine that.
And again, that's another example of everyone working together. The district business office, Ashley and her team, they're coming in to share information and updates. John's doing something, like everybody is playing a role in that process and has played a role in all of this. There's a lot of things behind the scenes, when we have new curriculum coming in and new resources, a lot of them are digital. John and his team are there behind the scenes, making sure that everything is syncing together, that kids have access to everything, the teachers have what they need. So it really is a group effort, and I just want to say that again, that even though the two of us are the ones up here presenting this has been the intense, really focused work that the team has done this summer. And so I just want to say congratulations and kudos to everybody, because we would not be where we are right now stepping into this year if it wasn't for all of that collaboration. All right,
Thank you both.
Ilsa.
I have a
Great work.
question, just a point of clarification. So the H&H curriculum is brand new, you're implementing it for this coming school year?
Yeah, the interreading, yeah, so that was what the literacy committee came to. So we are starting it with just grades 4 through 8. And that one third grade teacher who wanted it. And then in the spring, we will provide more professional development to the primary teachers so that they're ready to launch in the following fall. So we will be having a rotation of professional development. And whenever you start a new curriculum, it's really about the adults getting comfortable teaching it too, right? So we expect to be full implementation by spring of next year. And really, that's when we'll be looking to see how we're growing.
And we, Marcy, we worked on a literacy implementation plan with these programs and when things would be rolled out. So again, training is staggered and there's ongoing support, and that was reviewed with the literacy review committee to make sure that they were on board as well. In the past, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but over the last 3 years or before I got here, it was a little bit more mishmash. There was Fontes and Pinnell, which is not aligned with science and reading. There was Hegarty, but like there were things weren't things weren't being done with the same fidelity.
Yeah, and that's it. And so, people are doing parts of this and parts of that, and you can't, you really need to focus on doing it with fidelity, meaning doing the program as it is intended. And just another example of another program, not reading, but the math, we've talked about it in the past, the Math Reveal program. And we are seeing that in some grades, they have been doing it with fidelity, just as it was intended, and you can see some really amazing improvements. And so we know who's doing it the way that it should be done and who isn't, and so now we're able to have better conversations about this.
Right. And then also tying into that master schedule and the work that Marcy and Laura and Lindsay did, you have to really isolate that time so that it's not interrupted and the teachers and the students have that time so that it can be done with fidelity. So this was a matter of looking at all of the pieces that need to come together for it to be as effective as possible to make the fastest gains that we need to. And again, it's not to say, like we said earlier, people have been working very, very hard, but we need to work smarter and we need to utilize our time more efficiently so that we can see greater gains. Because it's not that our students aren't performing well, it's that we and our teachers aren't teaching well. It's that we know that we can maximize better when we put these kind of supports in place for them. Yep. All right, anything else? Thanks for your
Thank you
patience
both.
listening to us. Thank
Very
you.
good.
And thank you guys for your collaboration.
Yeah, you're
Oh, okay, now.
We'll stay up there.
Yeah, I went quickly.
Now the superintendent's report.
All right, I will work to be quick on this one. I just wanted to share, I haven't finalized, my commitments for the year because of course I have to do those with the board and with our board president. But, with all the work that you just heard, I feel like, there's more of an opportunity for me this year to be able to really focus on some of the roles of the superintendent as far as emphasizing community, advocating for our school district and public education, and continuing to build partnerships and even find new ones. So this is my overall commitment, which I think really includes everything. And then some examples of that would be, expanding our community and workforce partnerships. So I think about the work that Amy Janito has done with work-based learning, continuing to support that and looking for continued partnerships, going out into the community, getting to meet people, strengthening community understanding, just like we talked about as a board and as all of us, what can we do? We're communicating with families, we're communicating to the community. We understand what Portrait of a Graduate is. We can explain that to the people that are curious, to the people that are positive, and the people that maybe aren't right now or don't know that. And probably the most important thing is, to me, is like telling our story. And the impact that our school has on students, staff, and our community, and the opportunities that can exist. I mean, I do think we're small but mighty. This is a gem of a district. So those are some examples. And then we have capital project updates, and I'm going to let the expert Nick Smith step in on this one.
Okay, so the project updates can be broken down into about 5 parts. So we have the track and field area, the daycare renovation, the roofing, masonry, and the flooring. As far as the track and field renovations go, the turf is going down as of, I think it started early this week, so Monday. They have the end zone laid out and all of the yard markers, and then the other end zone moving along pretty quickly, and then we'll have the sidelines. So they're working on that. Track is completely paved, and that needs to sit and cure for 21 days before they can put the rubber coating on it. So that's in the process of curing now. There's a couple of minor adjustments that we need to make, but that's not going to affect the cure time, so everything will continue to go on schedule. We anticipate the turf portion to be done by the end of this month. Since we have to wait for the track to cure, we're going to lead into September, probably about mid-September, that track will be completed. We'll still be able to utilize the turf for our varsity football games. I've been working with the athletic directors to move the other sports to grass fields. And we're gonna work through it. And if there's any opportunity to accelerate the schedule, we'll do that. But that's where we are right now.
And Nick, I added on there lasting impact 15 years because I know, we've had some questions from our community about, why are we redoing the track and field? It looks beautiful, and it really does still look beautiful like our campus does, but it had really worn out its lifespan, right? And I think this should get us another 15 years, but can you just share so our community and board members know about how long, I think that our last turf lasted longer than anticipated, correct?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. The turf, it lasted quite a bit longer than anticipated, and this is the first time that we've done a full depth reconstruction of the track. So the blacktop that's there, the asphalt that was there was the original that was put down in '99. When we did the turf, when we put it down back 15, 16 years ago, we did have to cut out the first lane, so that was new, but the rest of it was still the original. So it really was time for that to be done. I would expect that you would get easily another 25 years out of that track. And yes, the turf carpet, you'll probably get another 15 years out of it as long as it's maintained properly. And that's what we've been doing, and that's why it lasted so long.
Why just the football team, not the other sports teams on the turf?
The only field that we can play football on is that turf field. We only have grass fields we have grass fields for everything else. And we're gonna try to also modify, so it's to make the voting process go quicker. They work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they're gonna pull off in the field early, so it's only gonna hopefully do that 2 hours a week. Daycare renovation, that's going well. All of the walls are up, they've been sheetrocked. We have the plumbing in for the new restrooms, they have entrenched the floor and connecting to the drain that's out in there, all from the hall out here. There's been quite a bit that's been going on in there. We do have some holes in the wall because we had to have 3 doors added that would go directly to the outside. The fence outside has been installed for their playground area. So that's moving right along. I do expect that to be done by September. If it's not done by September, it'll be small items like fire alarm devices. The only thing that's really kind of slowing us down at this point is there is some difficulty getting some materials such as smoke heads and pull stations, but it sounds like we'll be able to source those and get them here so that they can get installed. So that's moving along pretty well as well. So yeah, I think by September, as far as the anticipated timeline for that one, we should be completing with that. Roofing's been a huge project. I'm very pleased with how that's going. Considering the weather that we've had with all of the rain, I think that they're still really on schedule, if not a little bit ahead. So far, the elementary side at the back of the building has been completed. The front of the building on the elementary has been completed. Above us, they're currently working on, the front portion is done. They're working on the back, and then they'll move to the back part of the building over the science rooms back there. So that would be the last section. We are on schedule with that. I think we'll be done by September 1st. As long as the weather cooperates. Transportation building over there, our scope of work is quite a bit smaller than what we were doing over here. They have a new water heater that's been installed. It's waiting for the electrical connections. There's some steel that needs to be addressed, that we have some rusting issues, so that's going to all be cleaned up, and we'll put a rust inhibitor on that. PTAC units, so that's the HVAC units or the heating and air conditioning for the office spaces, they'll be replaced. So that's moving right along. And we also will be upgrading the fire alarm system at the bus garage. That will be done September, October-ish. It shouldn't affect their operations over there very much at all. As far as the terrazzo goes, it's the terrazzo flooring replacement. We're putting down a vinyl tile, we're not putting down terrazzo, so the terrazzo came out. The materials just arrived on site this week. The company that makes the materials that we chose, which is a full vinyl tile, 2x2 squares, kind of like these here, except for vinyl, not carpet, is it just arrived, and they started the installation at the auditorium area. I expect them to finish the auditorium area. I don't believe that they're going to be able to finish the atriums. They're going to get them started. Part of the reason for that is we tried to replicate the TH emblem that we had in the terrazzo, and they have to send that vinyl out to get cut with a water jet, and that takes 4 weeks from the time that the company receives it. So they're going to install as much of that vinyl as they can before school starts, and then we're going to have to tackle the rest of it on breaks. I don't know how many it's going to take. I'm hoping it's only 1 or 2, but that's the game plan at this point.
Thank you, Nick.
That's all the sections. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nick has just, I do want to just acknowledge the effort that he's put into meeting with the, everybody and staying on top of our construction manager and the work that they're doing and just making sure he's in the know. Because of course, part of this whole process is maintaining really good relationships with the companies we're working with. So thank you, Nick. Oops, I went the wrong way, sorry. Just want to point out that Eileen and Ashley worked on an apparel site, right? And organizing everything. And once a Titan, always a Titan. So we'll make sure you have that link so you know where to go to get your apparel. You can wear it at board meetings. Just want to acknowledge it is in the agenda, but Karen Cloud, teacher aide, God bless you, and is going to be retiring, I think effective December 2nd, but she has given us 21 years of service, and so we appreciate that. And John Dodds, our coordinator of computer technology, 21 years of service. He will be retiring as well, and we're all a little sad. Can't replace the person and all that he's contributed, but it's okay because Bobby Joe has him ready for the board to approve to be a bus driver. So he's not going to go too far, but
Too young to retire.
John, truly, we just thank you. It's been a pleasure and honor to work with you the last few years, and you've just kept us in a great place with our technology and our advancements and our protection. Thank you.
Thank you.
Upcoming month at a glance, I'll put these in your weekly board report, but these are the things that we have going on. We're looking forward to our new teacher orientation. Our next meeting will be Wednesday, August 26th. We do have public hearing for our annual safety plan and our updates to our code of conduct, and at that time you'll hear some of those updates, and then our regular board meeting, and then when our conference days are and our first day of school. We have our pre-K and our K orientation again on the first day of school, and then their first full day will be on the 9th. And then our next board meeting and when our open house is. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. Does anybody have a board member activity report? Have you been out there watching the turf go down?
I've done a whole lot of nothing,
Have you?
but it's taken me all day.
I finally got into my email.
So,
Thank you.
so my husband's company sponsored a fishing derby. And we raised about $7,000, and it's through the Iron Mike Foundation, but money is available direct only for Columbia County Schools through what we raised. You just have to go to Iron Mike, and you can fill out as a team or an individual student. So if you know any students that are in need, it can cover uniforms, camps, registration fees, anything. And then we also, if you know any teams that need money, teams can apply for funding as well.
Very cool.
That's great.
Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, thank you. Let's move
Well,
on. to-
oh wait, and Ilse, you attended part of our strategic planning. That was
Yes,
after the
I did.
meeting.
Right,
so.
I forgot about that. Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that.
And we had our
Well, for the
retreat.
retreat.
So let's move on to new business. Item A is the 26-27 tax levy. I'm not going to read the whole resolution, but the tax levy is, as we knew, it would be $27,303,000, $836.50. So this basically allows the collection of that money to begin September 1st, 2026, ending November 2nd, 2026. And if you don't pay by September 30th, there is a penalty assessed to your tax payment. So I need a motion to approve that. Joe, Ron, are there any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Well, just give me the place.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Good morning.
Hello. Perfect.
Good.
Thank you. Next on the new business is item B, field trips. This is for 2 field trips, basically for the Festival of Shakespeare. One is in Great Barrington on October 7th. The other one takes place in Lenox on October 14th, 21st, and 28th. This is a very good program, very good program. We're proud to be funding it. So, any motion to approve that? Bill, Molly, any questions? All in favor? Item C is new bids. Approval of the following bids for next year. We have a bid from Kinderhook Toyota for a 2026 Toyota Sienna for $43,597.50. This is for the Transportation Department. I need a motion to approve that bid. Joe? Sam? Any questions? All in favor? D is contracts. We have approval of the following contracts for the coming year. One is for Invo Healthcare. And if I don't say this right, Lynette, you can correct me. They come to our school to give us help with applied behavior analysis, behavioral health, mental health, and related therapy services. They come here 12 times a month. That contract is for $180,000. We also have a contract with Advanced Therapy of Albany. They help us with giving us a teacher of the visually impaired. This is for an out-of-district student that needs help with it. And that is $75 per session. Any motion to approve? Bill? Jean? Any questions? All in favor? Item E is a donation from NYSER for staff care and closet supplies of $1,000. We appreciate that. And we need to accept that donation. I need a motion to accept it. Sam? Joe? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Under item F, surplus, we have 4 vehicles that are being surplus from the Transportation Department. 2 2018 Dodge Vans, a 2018 Thomas bus, and a 2019 International bus. And these will go on Auctions International. I need a motion. Sam? Joe? Any questions about that? All in favor? We have a course modification approval as item G. This is the Spanish 7 that Lynette talked about, the introductory course to Spanish for this coming fall for the junior high school. Any motion? Molly, Bill? Any questions?
So years ago, we used to have 7th and 8th grade Spanish, but we did away with that, right? And this is replacing
So we haven't had Spanish
7 in
for
years.
a couple of years,
Yeah.
yeah, because we just had the staffing. So we were able to work it in our CTE deal, so we could give them, at least immerse them before they actually get to the credit during the course.
So it's pass fail, it's 1 quarter, and it's more of like an introduction to the culture and a little vocabulary.
I was telling Lynette earlier that when I was going through the agenda, I took 4 years of Spanish way back when I was in high school. And it was Spanish 1 through Spanish 4. And I saw this and I said, oh my God, we're up to 7 years of Spanish.
To be fair, I took 8 years of Spanish in high school because they started us at 5th.
Really? Cool. Oh well. So now I know what it is. Did we vote on
We
that?
didn't vote
We
on
didn't
it.
vote. All in favor? Thank you. Resolution to close the 2024 capital project fund. So we had total authorized expenditures for the 2024 capital improvement project of $2,130,000. All the work was completed, and we want to close that out. Our balance on that is $217,786.86. I need a motion to close that out. Ron? Pam? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Item I is a resolution authorizing the transfer to a capital reserve fund. On May 21st, 25, voters approved us increasing the level of our capital reserve fund to $15 million. We are not at $15 million yet, but we can put some more money into there. So we want to move $4 million from the unassigned fund balance into the capital reserve fund.
Do we have to close it first and then open the new one?
Because we never got to the 15 million, so there's still some room in there.
Oh, okay.
I need a motion. Molly? Joe? Any questions? All in favor? We have a memorandum of agreement with the Taconic Hills Faculty Association over what Lynette talked about, the positive behavior interventions and supports coordinator in both the elementary and the junior senior high schools. The high school position came about after the contract was settled, so we do need an MOA on this. I'd like a motion to approve that. Sam? Jean? Any questions? All in favor? We have the personnel agenda next. I'm just going to go through and read through them, and then we can vote on them at the end. So we have a amendment of the probationary appointment of the supervisor of special education, Melissa Picariello. Sure I say that right? Hope I did. We're changing.
Your face does not say it was.
Nobody ever says it right.
I'm just saying it the way it's spelled.
Your
Picariello.
excellent.
We obviously caught phonetic back in the day.
Hence we're going backwards.
No, Picarello, you're just not saying.
You just
Say
say
the aye.
Ignore the I. You ignore the I. It's there, but it's like silent.
Okay, it's silent.
It's a silent I.
I'm sorry. So basically, we're changing the
Start date.
Hmm?
The start date.
the start date,
Moved up.
and it's going to be at an annual salary of $112,500. I need a motion to, oh, no, never mind, sorry, we're going through this, sorry. We have some adjustments to the summer programming amendment. We had put in some hours and some money for the people that were going to work in this program, and we've had to adjust them a little bit. We have a retirement of a teacher aide. Karen Clow, thank you for your service, Karen. We have a retirement in here for Mr. Dodds. You will be sorely missed. You've done a lot for the district over these years, and we thank you for that.
The KGB is resting easier now.
Is Ed Law 2 going to be changed to JD Law 2?
Ed Law JD.
Oh, yeah.
That's sure.
We have a resignation of an elementary teacher, Sophie Goodacre, effective in August. Another resignation of a teacher aide, that is Crystal Albright, effective August 5th. We have an appointment of an agriculture teacher, Jessica Cerna, to a 4-year probationary appointment. We have a probationary appointment of an elementary teacher, Leah Brody. She's going to be in kindergarten. We have a probationary appointment of another elementary teacher, Rebecca Ward, who's going to be in pre-K. And we have a term appointment of an elementary teacher, Nicole Kernan. She's going to be working to fill a teacher's leave of absence. We have a probationary appointment of Sari Zell. Did I get that one right? Close.
Yes.
Okay. She'll be in a probationary position of food service worker effective September 1st. And we have an annual appointment of the Hawthorne Valley nurse, and that is going to be Christina Hess. We help to pay her salary because we have students from our district that go to Hawthorne Valley. And we have,
Schools in the boundaries of our district.
it's in our district. And we have annual appointment of McKinney Vento liaison. You're appointing Karen Regina to that. Thank you, Karen. We have an annual appointment of a residential facility transition liaison, and we're going to appoint Melissa Picarello.
Very nice.
Thank you, Ms. Melissa. We have a before and after school program aides. We'll be appointing Sheanne Lane, Jennifer Alexander, and Heather Rusa as a substitute. We have extracurricular activity advisors as listed.
Thank you.
I've murdered enough names today. So. It goes on to the next page, also as listed. We have mentor teachers as listed. The head mentors for the elementary school are going to be Tracy Brantley, and for the junior, senior high school, Jacqueline Kuhn Hudson. We're moving S to after executive session. And item T is the summer regents exams, proctors and scorers. They're going to be Brianna Beebe, Melanie Nostrin, Emery Slater, and Jason Gaylord. We have lifeguard appointments and fitness center attendants, Megan Charter and Elida Earnhardt. Believe it. And under volunteers, we have the following volunteers: Constance Lopez, Stephen Sanborn, Felicia Amash, Megan Kitsock, Nicole Gardner, Honor Bloom, and Joan Matson. So we're ready to appoint B through
The
D except for S. So I need a motion. Second, we got Ron and Molly. Is there any discussion? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. We are at public forum 2. Nobody for public forum 2.
Number one was so exciting.
It was, right?
The best kind.
Okay, additional items to discuss? Anybody have anything? I do. So I put some numbers together on what we have been spending on our conferences. So I just want you to be aware of it. And I'd like to see if we could balance them out just a little bit. I went back for the last 4 conferences that we went to, both national and state. So for the national conferences, from 22 through 25, 4 conferences, we spent $48,155. For the New York State Conference, same time period, 4 conferences, we spent $19,696. We sent 14 members during that time period. The state conference, we sent 20 members to the national conference. So I would like to see if we could balance that out a little bit. I mean, last year we said that if you went to the state conference, you didn't go to the national, but we didn't really hold true to that or enforce that. So I'd like to know what your opinion is on that idea. Maybe we could limit how many people go to the national, since there is flights involved with that, in most cases. Thoughts? Certainly, I don't want to I'm not trying to get rid of the national convention, okay? There are
Is the
good things.
conference that different year to year? I mean, is it something, so if I went this year, or Joe went this year, is it gonna be that different next year?
It'll probably be in a different place at least,
Sure.
okay? And I'm sure the topics are gonna be different.
The hot button topics.
Yeah.
And you'll get good topics at both places. So
What are you looking to spend?
I just like it to balance out a little bit, so I guess I'd like to, my thought was maybe we say that to the national, we send 3 or 4 people instead of I think last time we sent 6. That's just my thought.
I think that's it on that.
Hmm?
That's how you think about it.
Okay, well, I'm just giving you the numbers, so we can talk about it, in the future. We don't need to make reservations or anything for that. We've never limited how many went to the state convention, but we seem to be getting better participation outside of the state. I'm not sure that is a good option.
Fiscally.
Fiscally.
That's one of them.
Do we know who is intending to go to Buffalo in October for NISPA? Because we want to sign up. It opened up yesterday.
Yes, I thought we were done, but how many people decided they wanted to go? Joe, Ilsa, you and me.
Jean, are you going to go?
Yeah.
You want to go?
Make reservations for us.
Travel agent.
All right, so I appreciate if you think about that. So now we need to have a motion to go into executive session. Sam, Molly, all in favor? Thank you all.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Enjoy your last couple weeks.
Ron, pace yourself throughout the day.
I'm gonna try.
The other day, like,
Don't put up all at once. I know. I have.
good night, everybody.